Come here, buddy. Hi there, baby. Shalom, shalom. I am Rebekah and welcome to my sukkah. This is Buddy. Say hi. Say hi. This is Buddy. Maybe he will join us for the story today. Chag Sameach. Happy Sukkot. I am glad that you came back for another story. Let me see I remember what we were doing. We were reading a story about Yahshua, our Messiah, because he was born during the Feast of Sukkot on the first High Shabbat, and then he was circumcised on the last High Shabbat of this feast, which is actually Shemini Atzeret, which is actually the last great day. So, did you follow with me there? I am so glad you're here. So all the children come in. I just want to share my sukkah with you today and have you be my guest in my sukkah. So here is my Sukkot tote bag. I love this little bag. Let me see which book we were reading. Oh yes, we had like several books, remember? And this one was, here we go. We were reading this one. Now, remember what I said about this. This is called The Story of Christmas, but because we know the truth now, we are going to say this is the story of Yeshua's birth during Sukkot. Okay, so I don't know of any books actually that are story books that talk about and teach that Yeshua was born during the Feast of Tabernacles. So if you know of one, please share it with me. So in the comments below, tell me and give me a link to a book that tells, that doesn't have any error in it. That would be so amazing. And maybe someday I will write one. But for today, we are going to read this, and we're going to finish this actually, and I'm going to just kind of, I call it transliterate, but I'm going to fill in where this may not quite be right on. But I love the artwork. I love the idea of reading about our King's birth during this time. So if you have friends and family that celebrate the birth of the Messiah on December 25th, you can say to them, no. He was actually born during Sukkot, during the Feast of Tabernacles. Let's celebrate his birthday at the right time. Let's celebrate it then and not on December 25th. And you will be like a star in heaven if you say that. And if you do that and you help your family celebrate his birth at the right time, the angels will sing and Yahweh will just be so happy. It'll be a great thing in heaven if you can do that for your family. Why not? A child shall lead them, right? So if you are a child, you have every right to say, hey, wait a minute, what are we doing? And you can say it in a nice, kind, respectful way and say, hey, let's celebrate his birthday during the right time of year. All right, so let's find out where we were. Now, I think we read about the shepherds coming, right? So we read about his birth, and then we read about the shepherds coming. And then now we're going to read about when the wise men came. When did the Magi actually come? A really great way to just understand the story is just to read it from the scriptures. And a great scripture to get is called the Chronological Gospels. And I have it over there. I don't think I have it close here. That is a great story you just look straight from the scriptures. You can see where he was when where his birth happened, and see kind of what happened that whole time there in like linear order. It's awesome. You should get that book. So, all right, here we go. We're going to read about the Magi when the wise men came. Many miles away in another country, some wise men were studying the stars. They searched through ancient charts and documents, and they were certain that what they had seen in the sky was true. A bright new star shone in the night sky. It had appeared suddenly and without warning. It was bigger and brighter than any other star in the universe. It is the star for a new king, said one wise man to his friends, and he pointed to his chart. There is no doubt. This star shows that an important new king has just been born. The wise men looked at each other excitedly. As quickly as they could, they packed provisions for their journey. They did not know how long it would take them or where exactly they were going to be ending up, but they were sure that if they followed the star, that they would eventually find the new king. And because they were certain of what they would find, they brought with them presents of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a little commentary on this, just so you know something else in here that probably most likely happened. So these are pagan wise men. They're not Israelites. They were not looking for a Messiah. What they were actually doing is they were called Chaldeans from Babylonia. And Daniel, I don't know if you remember the story of Daniel in the lion's den, but 500 years earlier, before Yeshua was born, Daniel, who couldn't have kids, remember he was made a eunuch, so he couldn't have any kids, he rose into power under 3 kings, and he got a lot of wealth. And he was the one that Yehovah told a lot of prophecies to. And I'm, so sure that Daniel knew what to look for in the heavens to know when the king was going to be born. And he taught the astronomers in Babylonia, in the pagan land. He taught them, because he was a captive. He was a captive there, but he knew the heavens and he knew the stars. And so he taught them what to look for. And then he's like, when you see these things happen, take my gifts to the king. So his wealth turned into frankincense, gold, and myrrh. And these Magi were watching the heavens in order to deliver Daniel's presents to the king when he came. How cool is that? So if you want to know more on that, get the chronological Gospels from A Rude Awakening, and it will help you unpack that so you can have that understanding when you come in to understand what the Magi were and what they were bringing and who they were bringing this gift from. It's really awesome. It makes the story so much bigger to know that Yehovah, the Father, was taking care of his son. He was making provision for his son through Daniel many, many, many years before. So here we go. Awesome. Isn't that fun? I love that. Okay, 8 days after the baby was born, Miriam and Yosef took him to be circumcised. What will you call the child? Yosef was asked. His name is Yeshua, he replied. I think I'm going to try to tie this, because that's just going to annoy you. I just know it. You're going to be like, Rebekah, tie that, will you please? Okay, they both are tied. There we go. Okay. His name is Yeshua, he said. That's what the angel Gabriel told Miriam to name him, right? 6 weeks later, they loaded their donkey to travel to the temple in Jerusalem. It was not too far away, and although they had talked about returning to Nazareth, they had decided to make Bethlehem, their home. Yosef carried the 2 young doves, which he could give to the priest to offer as a sacrifice to Yehovah. We have a clue right there. Do you know what that clue is? Young doves. Yosef and Miriam offered the prescribed offering to Yehovah at the temple. When you have a baby, you're supposed to give an offering, right? And so the 2 young doves were an offering that a very, very poor family could offer. It's like the least amount that you can bring because they were so poor. So at this time, during his circumcision, we know that the Magi, the wise men, had not come with their gifts yet, because otherwise they would be wealthy, and the gift that they would have offered would have been big. It wouldn't have been just 2 doves. It would have been like a much bigger present or gift or offering. All right. Sorry for the commentary, but gotta do it. All right. Yosef carried the 2 young doves, which he would give the priest to offer as a sacrifice to Yehovah. An old man stared intently at Miriam and the baby she was holding. He slowly made his way towards her, picking his way through the crowd. Miriam handed Yeshua to the old man, probably because he said something to her, right? There's nothing. The man, whose name was Simeon, cradled the child in his arms, and then he spoke, his eyes overflowing with tears. Sovereign Yahuwah, he said, you have kept your promise to me. I have seen the Savior of the world. He handed Yeshua back to Miriam, and Miriam and Yosef looked at each other. They were too amazed to speak. At that moment, an old woman called Hannah came up to them. She smiled and her face lit up with joy as she praised Yehovah Elohim. Miriam and Yosef made their way back to Bethlehem, thinking of all the things they had heard and seen in Yerushalayim. They were unaware of the 3 other travelers who had begun their journey to visit them. You know what would be really, really cool is if you would write a book, a storybook about Yeshua's birth that had all the wonderful little details in it, that detailed out the birth of our Messiah in a story form with great pictures and a really nice story. So if you are talented in that area, please do that and then give me a link and show me where your book is and I will buy it. And then I will read it on my channel. That is what I would love for you to do. All right. The palace in Jerusalem stood high above the skyline. The 3 men made their way through the cobbled streets riding on camels. They did not stop anywhere else, but they went straight to the palace. King Herod was surprised to hear that he had foreign visitors. He was not expecting them. He was even more surprised when he heard what they had to say. Sire, they said as they bowed before him, we have come to see the new king who has been born, the King of the Jews, King of Israel. We saw his star in the east and we have come to worship him. Herod smiled. How interesting, he said. He left the 3 men and called his advisors. Tell me, does it say anything in our ancient writings about where God's Savior King will be born? Asked Herod. In Bethlehem, they replied. But I am the only king, thought Herod. The other king must be destroyed. He smiled wickedly as he returned to the 3 men. Our ancient scriptures say that the king you are looking for will be found in Bethlehem. Go there and look for the child. But when you have found him, come and tell me where he lives, for I too would like to worship him. The 3 men left the palace and made their way to Bethlehem. They left Herod with thoughts of murder on his mind. Oh, he's so wicked, isn't he? Just wicked, wicked, wicked. And did you know that, by the way, there probably wasn't just 3 Magi, because you know what? Traveling all that distance with all that gold and frankincense and myrrh, all that wealth, they probably would have had a caravan of guards, armed guards, and there probably was a lot more wise men than just that. The fact that there was only 3 gifts does not mean there was only 3 wise men. So just so you know, that's another side note to this story. There's so many side notes to this story. So write me the book. Write the book for the world, okay? And then let me know where it is. Look, said one of the wise men as they stepped outside the palace into the night, the star! There in the sky was a star which they had seen months before. It hung in the sky like an arrow, pointing the way to Bethlehem, to where Miriam and Yosef lived, and baby Yeshua. As soon as the 3 men saw the house, they knew they were in the right place. They knocked on the door and Miriam opened it. Notice they were in a house, right? She was not expecting visitors and had never seen men like this before, but she was not surprised. They had come. You have come to see the child, she asked. They nodded and she ushered them in. Miriam took the child into her arms. He stood firm and watched the visitors. One by one they knelt before him, and the little boy smiled. Then they unwrapped the presents they had brought with them, and the little child clapped his hands when he saw them. What do you think he found? What do you think they saw? There's little Yeshua and Miriam, his mother. So see, he was a toddler. I think in the chronological Gospels it says that he was about 1 year and 2 months old. So look, he's a toddler when the wise men came. The gold sparkled even in the dull light, and the smell of the myrrh and the frankincense filled the house. Do you know what each of those is? Gold for the King of Kings. Frankincense for the priests of all priests, and myrrh for the sacrifice of all sacrifices. Wow, how prophetic is that? Then they left, overjoyed that they had seen the baby king. It was late, and the 3 men had yet to return to Jerusalem to see King Herod and tell them all that they had learned, just like they had promised. They stopped for the night and fell asleep, thinking of everything they had seen in the tiny house. When they woke up the following morning, they were a little uneasy. "I had a strange dream," said one. As they prepared to leave, "So did I," said another. "I do not think we should return to Jerusalem." "Neither do I," said the third. "Let's go home another way." Ooh, that's a really nice picture right there. Look at that picture. Isn't that cool? I really like that. There's toddler Yeshua, somebody's artist's interpretation of what that looked like. That night, Joseph, Yeshua's stepdad, lay thinking about the men, the wise men. He fell asleep. He fell into a restless sleep. Suddenly, he sat upright. It was still dark, and gently he woke Miriam up. "Miriam," he said, "get up." Miriam rubbed her eyes. "I've had a dream," said Joseph urgently. "An angel came to me with a message. King Herod wants to kill Yeshua. We must run away to Egypt." As Miriam got ready to leave, she felt frightened. She heard a voice speaking to her, "Do not be afraid." She thought of the time she had heard that voice before and knew that Yehovah was with her. Quickly, Miriam and Joseph gathered up as many things as they could and loaded them onto their donkey. The gifts from the 3 wise men would provide more money than they could ever earn. Yehovah would keep them safe. Then, putting Yeshua on the donkey in front of Miriam, they escaped together to Egypt. Wow, there you go. That is a really, really amazing story of how our Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, was born during Sukkot, and with the shepherds hearing the announcement from the angels, the star in the sky that led the Magi, the wise men, to Yeshua when Yeshua was a toddler later on, and how Daniel's gift of frankincense, gold, and myrrh funded their flight to Egypt and saved his life was just totally amazing. There's so much there to talk about, so much there to learn. So I hope that you take my little suggestion seriously and write a book, a storybook that is about the birth of our King during the Feast of Tabernacles. So, Hag Sameach, and thank you so much for hanging out with me here in my sukkah today. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your Sukkot holiday. Look at this, it will not stay tied. My. Oh well, you have a wonderful day, and praise Yehovah Elohim for the gift of his son during this feast a long time ago. Shalom. Buddy, come here. Where's Buddy? Come here, Buddy. Come say goodbye. Come here. Come here, Kata. Buddy's gonna say goodbye. And Kata's gonna say goodbye. Say bye-bye. She's a little grumpy. Go on. Shalom, bye-bye. Buddy, Kata, come here. I love you just as much as I love Buddy. Yeah. All right, go on. Okay, let's go. Okay. Buddy. Okay.